This is a statement that creates more atheists than Christians. So about 10 years ago, we've seen the narrative pushed by Ken Ham on the big stage. You're either a faithful Christian who believes the Earth is 6,000 years old, or you're a heretical evolutionist, which he took to Bill Nye. There's quite a bit of danger behind this tribal young Earth creation mentality. When we tell a kid in youth group that their fate depends on denying the carbon dating they're seeing in science class, we're not exactly protecting the inerrancy of the Bible. We're handing them an exit ramp from the faith the second they realize the old Earth model is more scientifically viable. Let's keep in mind that this tribal idea exploded back in 1925 with the Scopes monkey trial. It turned into this massive cultural circus that painted Christianity as fundamentally anti-intellectual. But we don't have to live in that 100-year-old shadow anymore. So here are some of my intellectually honest cases for old Earth creation and theistic evolution. In Genesis 1, the word bara means to create, but there's a scholarly debate over this opening phrase. Some Hebrew scholars argue it shouldn't be in the beginning, but rather when God began to create. So this idea suggests that void and chaos were already there, so it's not necessarily describing magical matter poofing into a 24-hour window, but about God bringing order to a chaotic state. And then there's the death argument. The young Earth creation theory says that if there was evolution, there was death before Adam, and that ruins the gospel. But biological decay is a necessity for a functioning ecosystem. If Adam and Eve ate a piece of fruit in the garden, plant cells did indeed die. Also, the death that Paul describes in Romans is human spiritual death, the loss of our access to immortality. And from biologist S. Joshua Swamidass, he's proposed a brilliant way to bridge this. He points out that you can have a genetic ancestor and a genealogical ancestor. Specifically, you can have an old Earth, a process of macroevolution for a wider population, and still have a historical Adam and Eve created specifically by God in a garden 6,000 years ago. If the couple's offspring eventually interbred with the population outside the garden, they would still be the genealogical ancestors of every human being alive today. The fossil record doesn't negate the Bible, it just fills in the how. The whole argument I'm trying to get through is intellectual honesty. We don't need to twist reality for God or ignore the overwhelming geological or cosmological evidence of an old universe. And when we look at the fine-tuning of the physics that allowed life to exist, we see a creator who willed us to live through countless natural laws that permit our existence today. God isn't threatened by your questions, and he definitely isn't threatened by a fossil. In fact, none of this negates the ultimate truth that Jesus Christ died on the cross for your sins. Which reminds me, Happy Easter, he is risen. God bless.